Hello, and welcome to another edition of Coffee Talk with immigration attorney Brian D. Lerner. I'd like to talk a little bit about 245I and the FOIA in this particular episode. You might ask how those two subjects can come about in the same video and why talk about 245I considering that it passed and essentially the the acts giving rise to it had to occur before April 30th, 2001, and how long ago that was. Well, couple reasons. First of all, the 245I eligibility, essentially begins when a family petition is filed. And there's also labor certs and I-140s and all that. But for purposes of this video, if there was a qualifying family relationship and it was filed before the deadline, then the person, the beneficiary, can be here illegally for all these years and still yet ultimately be able to adjust status by paying a fine and so forth. Well, it's taken so long for visa numbers to become current, for example, for sibling petitions or for U.S. citizens petitioning sons or daughters over 21, depending what country you're from, and especially from Mexico and China and India and the Philippines, because those are the ones that are backlogged the most. Those are basically now, in many cases, just becoming current. So even though the 245I I-130 petition was filed 16 years ago, 15 years ago, it's just now coming to light that they can now go forward and adjust. So 245I is having a great effect basically for the people who qualify, and that they've waited all these years and now they can move forward. So that's essentially why the 245I video. Now, why the FOIA? Well, a FOIA is essentially when you can order from immigration a copy of your file and what they have on you. Now, granted, most of the time immigration will redact a line here, a word there, and sometimes they redact pages, which is kind of humorous that you're getting a copy of your file and there's empty pages in there, but that's a story for another day. So I'm telling you this because there was a particular a client who came in a while back, and they had thought that there really was no hope. It was a married couple. The spouse had entered illegally many, many years ago. The chances of a waiver were not real high, and so what happened is there was something they said which indicated to me that something happened at immigration, and I needed to see what it is, even though they were unsure. So we ordered the FOIA. It did take a few months, but then it came, and lo and behold, I'm looking back into the FOIA and I find that there was an I-130 filed by this guy's lawful permanent resident father on April 30th, 2001, the deadline. So, if you see some of my other videos, you know that if a lawful permanent resident petitions a son or daughter, and then the son or daughter gets married, it avoids the petition, which is what happened in this case. And they even received a request for evidence to submit various documents, but they knew because they were married, the petition was void. However, for 245I eligibility, it was bona fide at the time it was filed, meaning they weren't married at the time it was filed. The father, who has since passed away, was a lawful permanent resident and everything was legitimate. So it opened up a whole opportunity here, in that because, number one, they didn't tell me about it because I guess they didn't know, or they thought that it wasn't important information. And it was only 3 pieces of paper and about 600 other papers, but I was able to tell them that this guy now qualifies for 245I adjustment by his wife petitioning him. He doesn't have to leave the U.S., doesn't have to try for a waiver, and everything can go forward fairly smoothly. So given that, it's one reason, especially because FOIAs now are, you know, the 245Is go back, you know, 15, 20 years, whatever it is. It's important, if there's any question in your mind that something like this might exist, that you should order a FOIA to do a full analysis rather than just jumping and doing a waiver and leaving the country and hoping for the best. So, you know, the bottom line is 245I will allow a beneficiary who had an I-130 petition filed before the deadline date and it's current now, or he can adjust or she can adjust under a different category, to go forward and pay the fine and adjust even though they're here illegally. So there's lots of different ins and outs of 245Is and FOIAs and all that, but hopefully this will give you some light. If you like the video, click like and subscribe, and you can also feel free to give my office a call. We give a free consultation anywhere in the United States or the world. Not a problem. Okay, more in the coming videos.